Okay, this 90s comic ripped off JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What's up?
Today, I randomly decided to Google JoJo's Bizarre
Y'all got any
Adventure
links?
We all know that JoJo's has inspired plenty of other series over the years,
Type shit.
but I wanted to know specifically if there was a piece of media out there that went beyond simply drawing inspiration from it and was just a straight up copy. Well, to my surprise, I found what I was looking for.
Well, how old is JoJo?
This is Diesel, a short-lived comic that answers the
90s
question,
anime.
what would happen if you took
JoJo?
all
Isn't
of the
JoJo
fun
itself
out
a
of
90s
JoJo's?
anime?
I know you weren't supposed to
90s?
judge a book by its cover, but this looks extremely boring. However, as a guy who loves to read both manga and Western comic books, one of my favorite things is when those two worlds cross over. So I have to admit, I was still a little bit excited to see what Diesel was all about.
What?
For context, it was inspired specifically by the 1993 Stardust Crusaders OVA.
Yeah, some of these
the
stories
OVA was originally
old,
6
early
episodes
80s.
and started at the Geb and Duel fight. If this was how you were introduced to the series,
My
you would
mother
basically
probably
have
went to
no
school and
context
seen
for
one
what
of
it
these
was actually
comics,
about,
or like
who any of
manga
these weird-looking
things.
characters were. Imagine starting part 3 at chapter 70 or episode 25. That's what the OVA was like before the first half of the story was animated. Before I started reading Diesel,
I remember seeing the OVA a couple years ago, and they were like, yeah, the OVA doesn't talk about like the first like 2 arcs, because there's like part 1, part 2, and then the OVA is part 3. And I thought that was so weird that they started like right when Dio was like an Egyptian vampire. And it's hella strange because it doesn't really explain who Dio was before that, but I guess they knew what they were doing. I don't know.
I didn't know anything about it other than the fact that people were calling it a ripoff. I expected some similarities, but I didn't expect them to be as blatant.
I remember
as
they did Jojolian, and Jojolian's done. Jojolian's done, so technically it's on hiatus right now because I mean he's like making his next story, right?
Actually are. It really is just a reskin of the first 2 episodes.
I don't know what happens in Jojolian though.
The comic begins with us getting a view of a mansion, and inside that mansion is a guy just chilling, sipping on some wine.
You could probably do a meme comp with all of it.
In comes Blue Hulk punching through the door. This is Thomas Diesel, and he's
I just wish some of the stuff in the reaction center is more diverse.
Is a tall blue ghost with long
Some
hair
of it just be like
really punchy.
same style TikToks.
It looks kind of like if Star Platinum used HGH and had no drip. Now, I'm not going to say that Araki created the idea of these fighting spirits, because I actually don't know if that's true. But him introducing stands in part 3 definitely made them a hell of a lot more popular than they were. They're all over the place now, and they have so many different names. Personas, spirits, shadows, but Diesel has stands too. And they aren't the only thing that are ripped straight from the OVA. Let's talk about some of these characters.
Yeah, what else?
This is Joseph. Instead of him being a funny old guy that likes to do some light cheating on his wife from time to time, he's a somewhat dumb young guy with barely any personality. The next important character is this doggo. It wouldn't be a true JoJo clone without a dog getting absolutely demolished somewhere in the story.
No
so
way.
Here he is. This
what the fuck?
Without a dog getting
what happened to him?
Absolutely demolished.
I don't remember the context for both of these.
Somewhere in the story.
I must know the context for this. How angry do you gotta be to bite a dog right on its face? I must know the context.
So here he is.
I remember this. This was in the first one. What was his name? Danny? RP Danny, bro. That boy Dio foul for that.
This good boy is our bootleg Iggy, and his name is Chewbacca. And then we have Jet Li. His name being taken from a real-life celebrity might be the most JoJo thing about this comic. Finally, there's Azizi, who's kind of like if you asked your mom for Avdol and she said, "No, we have Avdol at home."
I'm so mad.
The name and his worst version of the goat's haircut are a dead giveaway, but he also has a fire stand just like Magician's Red. Do you remember how I said the OVA started at the Geben duel fight?
It's only my 3rd day out here. I don't know.
Well, so does this, and it plays out roughly the same way. And when I use the word roughly, I'm being generous. This guy is never named, but he's blind,
I read a
uses
couple
a cane to track people,
chapters
and his
of
stand is also a liquid that he can control at will.
Like yesterday?
Instead of it being water,
I'm
it's
still in the
blood,
beginning of the
because
Wano
knew
arc.
that
I
when
just
you
met
copy
the
someone
bunny
else's
chick.
homework, you have to
I
make
can't
sure
tell you the
change
numbers.
it
I
at
don't,
least
bro.
a-
When I read the manga online, I don't really pay attention to numbers. But like, I remember like Nami was like lost, or I think she found Bunny. I don't know what's happening in Wano. It's such a weird arc. I don't know what's happening. But there's like this bunny chick that's part of the squad now, and it's like,
smoked
oh,
first
that's
is
cool.
replaced by young Joseph. Both of their heads get ripped off by Blood Geb and Water Geb, but Joseph's death is a little less gruesome because his head doesn't get turned into a smoothie and stuffed into a canteen. After this, everyone runs away from Blood Geb.
And she seems useful?
Somebody else gets injured because they make a noise, then they're picked up by a homie that runs for safety. Blood Geb starts going nuts, attacking another character's feet. Alex replaces Polnareff here, but instead of just getting his ankle sliced, his feet are completely cut off before he even gets a chance to do anything.
Damn.
As he's falling, he's rescued by Jet Li, who has a stand that somehow looks less cool than Hermit Purple does.
All I know is she bad
comes
as hell.
easy. He's the first person to actually damage Blood Geb, and he does it the exact same way that Avdol does in the original. The two blind guys react and go,
"Oh, so this is just like a one-of-one ripoff."
Then the group splits up. Now it's just Tommy, Diesel, and the dog,
Super
who survived
ripoff.
longer than most JoJo dogs usually do by this point. Instead of being kidnapped and forced to help like Iggy, Chewie willingly leads him to the enemy. Tommy jumps in the air exactly like Jotaro so he doesn't have to step on the ground and make any noise. The difference here is this dog is weak as hell and doesn't have his own stand. So instead, Diesel's stand jumps up and carries him like a textbook. He gets shot in the neck and falls back to the ground.
Wow.
Chewbacca goes in for the attack on Fake and Duel, but he also gets clapped immediately.
Wow.
Next, Jotaro and Tommy somehow sneak up behind their respective disabled guys and punch.
This is just a pure ripoff of what's his name, Star Platinum. Crazy ripoff. They didn't even decide. The only thing they didn't do was give him like his suits, but the body type is exactly the same.
The shit out of them with their stands.
Damn.
When the enemies are on the floor, they both die. But while in Duel kills himself, this guy gets assassinated by someone else.
Rest in peace by your cane and Duel.
Somewhere in comic books, there's usually this little blurb about copyright information. And for Diesel, it happens at the very bottom of the last page. It says, "No similarity to any characters and or places is intended. Any similarity is..."
You know damn well, boy. You know damn well.
"Purely coincidental."
Coincidental. I could laugh right now. I could laugh.
Let's pretend for a moment that all of this was just one big coincidence. Is Diesel any good as its own comic? No. Objectively, it's poopy. And it's made worse by the fact that it is a ripoff of something that's a million times better than it is. The story is so unoriginal that you actually need to be familiar with JoJo's in order to understand what's going on. Stands are one of the most important parts of the comic, but they're never explained. The characters are never properly introduced either, and they barely have any personalities to help differentiate between them. It's really hard to care about these guys when all they do is take up space on a page without contributing anything to the story. Even the designs of them and their stands are kinda boring. This is the one area where it feels like the writer didn't copy Araki enough. Diesel just lacks the flair that attracts fans to JoJo's in the first place. Even for things that I don't like at all, I usually try to find some redeeming quality. So here's everything that I actually enjoyed about Diesel.
Hello y'all, freelawX here. I just have one question to tell y'all. Why y'all not following the channel? Y'all clearly enjoyed the video y'all watching. Y'all might as well hit the board to follow. Appreciate it.
The art. I know I just said that the character design was boring, but overall, the art is actually good. It's not weird for Western comics to have a writer and 4 different artists working on one book, so I'm impressed that this was all handled by a single guy. The last thing we need to talk about is the origin. Why?
I can't remember its name off the top of my head, but I do remember
to this day,
he has a song called
still works
Sarah
for
Bastard.
Press,
I probably heard it
publishing
before,
company
but
that he released Diesel on.
I probably didn't like it enough to remember.
It was full of weebs back in the 90s, and was even founded by one. Because of some of their works, they became known for their Americanized manga style. Their love for Japanese comics was obvious, but at that time, JoJo's was still very obscure in the West. I came across a Reddit post
crazy
that
good or like
details why Joe made Diesel in the first place. I don't know if this stuck out to any of you.
That nigga needs to go to asylum or some shit.
But he decided to make Diesel after having seen the Stardust Crusaders OVA that released in 1993.
Nigga, what am I looking at?
In Japan. It wasn't released in the United States until May of the year 2000. Antarctic Press is located in Texas, so the only way that he had access to it was through a fan
on my own time. I was about to search up right now so we could listen to it. But
Joe was so impressed by what he had seen that he wanted to share how cool JoJo's and stands were with the US. There have been JoJo fans over here since the 90s, but it didn't become a popular series in the States until
y'all seen that Your Age Went to Kick? Bruh.
Back then, most of the people that knew about JoJo's
his video for
only knew about it because of the fighting games, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
I see niggas talking about it on the feed.
Future.
そして時は動き出す。
Joe here had a legitimate chance to introduce a lot of new fans to JoJo's, but more than likely,
Damn, yo, this is a pure ripoff, man. Diesel is a straight ripoff, bro. Oh, let me check this out. Your age kick.